So, what all ingredients from the Indian kitchen can you use in your Gray's diet? So, there are a lot of people who will argue that garlic has allicin enzyme in it. It is harmful to your parents, but anything in
Reagan
limit.
sir, your PPT is not visible. Actually, someone has shared something.
Shall we? Hello, Jaren, can you look into it?
No problem. You can continue. We can see
Regan,
that.
you
Yeah,
continue.
I've been telling you that nothing is visible.
Jaren, a lot
You're
of people
talking
are having
about
this.
pictures and stuff. That's not actually there.
We can see the ingredients from the Indian kitchen. I can see. I'm using a laptop. I can see that. You
Uh,
please continue.
Everyone, please try to pin Regan's screen. You can see it. There's a pin button on Regan's screen. Just pin it.
Good to go.
Yes, continue.
Okay. So, what all from the
Well, he
Indian?
has two screens. Which one to pin?
The presentation screen. Regan, you can continue.
Okay, but I can. Okay, okay, yeah. Now it's fine. So these are the few ingredients from the Indian kitchen which you can use. For example, I use ginger garlic during severe climatic conditions. As I told you, our winters go down up to 6 to 7 degrees. Our summers go up to 45 degrees. So basically, what's the major role of garlic is what I'll tell you. Let you know my understanding. Usually, when you have a headache, you take a Disprin, right? What does Disprin do? It basically thins your blood. It helps in good blood circulation throughout your body, and while your headache is gone, right? The same thing, the same mechanism is applicable to garlic as well. If you give garlic in limited proportions, or even if we as humans use garlic in limited proportion, it promotes good blood circulation, right? It'll sometimes I've seen in budgies or a lot of smaller birds and finches where suddenly they'll face stroke issues. Garlic will reduce all those fatal strokes during severe climatic conditions. They also have anti-cancerous agents. They control blood pressure and control cholesterol levels. So it's a ginger garlic is a good combination to give it to your birds once in a while. I'll mix it in soft food once in a while. I'll make a paste out of it and mix it with the soft food once in a while. I give turmeric almost say weekly, twice or thrice, mixed in my soft food in limited proportions. For example, say in 3 kg of soft food, I'll mix around 2 spoons of turmeric. It is a natural antibiotic, antiseptic. It has good antibacterial agents. It is anti-inflammatory. Cinnamon is a natural antifungal. So basically, these are preventatives which will help your bird to be safe from any, say, developing an infection during a severe, say, a spell of monsoon, 5 days, 7 days, when your perches are going all uh, perches are developing fungus. There's like climate is too humid. These are the times when the birds start picking infections very quickly from water sources, from something they eat from the floor of the cage, something they lick from the mesh of the cage. So these are the times when the birds develop infections very quickly. So these ingredients will definitely safeguard your birds from catching up with the infections. They'll definitely work against say what you call it. It's a good defense mechanism, and it's a good say preventative medication. What else can you give? You can give spirulina in your soft food. I give spirulina during our winters. It's a best source of plant protein. It's a wholesome food. It has a lot of advantages for your birds. All these items we give in limited quantities. I even use Moringa oleifera. I use the powder. I use Moringa leaves. I use Moringa stems as a good activity for my birds. Moringa is a superfood. It has 4 times the calcium in milk. It has 7 times vitamins in oranges. It has 3 times the potassium in banana. It has more fiber than oats. So I think this plays a major role in almost every bird's life. So everybody should almost practice giving moringa in some form or the other to your birds. Saffron. During our severe winter mornings, I have developed this habit of giving saffron to my birds on regular intervals, say weekly, twice, thrice, because during very cold monsoons we have our farm is almost 20 kilometers away from the city. It has open fields all around it, so there's strong wind. The winter mornings are very chilled, so early morning we mix some saffron with warm water and give it to our birds. It keeps them warm. It has good powerful antioxidants, and I have seen saffron act the same way uh, Necton E or your Fertivate or any other supplement will act on your, or will affect on your bird. You will immediately see good activity in your birds. It acts as an aphrodisiac in males. You'll suddenly see your males chasing your females all of a sudden, but they have to be used in controlled proportion. You can't just overdo it. Everything in a limited proportion is good for your birds. So actually, how we started using saffron was I had to get a palm cockatoo chick from Bangalore to Ahmedabad via bus, that too in January, peak of winter. And I didn't have a brooder, I didn't have any other thing to travel with. So it was a 32-day-old palm cockatoo chick. So simple advice my grandmom or a fellow breeder gave was, an old breeder from Ahmedabad gave was, just keep saffron water with you, one drop with each feeding. It will keep the bird warm throughout the journey. And safely, even in 8 to 9 degree temperature, I brought the chick home safely from Bangalore to Ahmedabad, which is almost say 2 days travel by road. So that's how I started using saffron. Slowly, I started implementing that to my birds, the entire breeding facility on cold winter mornings. What else can you give? I grow a lot of microgreens on my windowsill. I give them wheatgrass, I give them garden cress, I give them alfalfa. Wheatgrass help in good bowel movements. It helps digestion. It liberates a lot of enzymes. Alfalfa is good for your bird's liver. Right. There are a lot of other benefits from all these. So you can give them in limited proportions along with your birds of food, morning food. So after doing all this, right, say preparing soft food, boiling eggs, boiling hard boiling chicken, adding oils, everything. When you offer this to your bird, and still if your bird doesn't eat it, so there are a lot of people who will complain. What can I do? So basically, a human mouth has 9,000 to 10,000 taste buds, right? You can immediately feel the taste of anything which is sweet, sour, bitter, whatever it is. But a bird's mouth has just 300 to 350 taste buds. They can't get the hang or the taste of it as quickly as you can get. Basically, that's the reason why parrots can easily eat chilies. We can't. They don't feel it that bitter or that pungent immediately like how we feel. So they can easily go about eating chilies, capsicum, everything with ease. So it takes a bit of patience and perseverance. So for example, if you offer this to your bird and it doesn't eat the same day, you'll have to wait a bit. You'll have to keep on giving it day after the other. See, greys are very smart, right? They don't have any work to do. They know your mentality better than you. They will just sit idly near the food bowl or on some perch. They'll try making sad faces. They won't approach the bowl, and ultimately feeling pity for your bird, you'll just go and give them what it wants. That is the biggest mistake you'll do. Your gray will figure out your mentality better than you. It knows if I do this, he'll offer me what I want, and your entire feed bowl, which you have prepared with so much effect in the morning, goes to the dustbin. So, if you don't want to do that, you'll have to try keeping your bird hungry for at least a few hours. Your bird has to be mentally told, if you finish this bowl, then only you get what you want. That's how we train our kids, right? We tell them if there is a fixed thali plate, rice, chapati, dal, we tell the kid, if you finish this, then only you get your chocolate. It's the same way you tell your bird, if you finish this, then only you get your seeds. Seeds are like chocolate to our birds. They just are crazy about seeds. So repeating this daily, right? Letting your bird know that you have to finish this before you get what you want, slowly will develop the habit of what you getting to try new things, getting to taste vegetables, fruits, sprouts. So ultimately, over a period of say weeks or a few months, your gray will start eating everything. There was a question in the group of somebody that my gray doesn't, how to get my gray eating pellets. So this is the way. So basically, a bird's life is sunrise to sunset. A bird is active in the morning and it goes to sleep after sunset. So the best practice is remove your food bowls before 7 o'clock in the evening. Keep the bird hungry till next morning, say 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. When the bird is most hungry early in the morning, you give it soft food. If you have a food bowl lying with seeds in your cage and your bird has eaten and filled its tummy early in the morning before you wake up, then your entire effort of preparing soft food is a waste, right? You have to keep it hungry in the morning and start offering soft food. Slowly, gradually, your bird will start getting the taste of it and it will slowly start eating. And over the time, it will almost accept whatever soft food you are preparing and giving. So it will take a little bit of patience and perseverance, but yeah, you can get your bird to eat everything. There's nothing like my bird doesn't eat this or it doesn't like this. There's no such thing at all. It will almost eat everything. Slowly, you have to develop the habit. So early morning, we discussed the entire soft food which we give. I sometimes give a lot of what do you call flowers like I give them marigolds. I give them hibiscus flowers. I give them what do you call moringa leaves. So a lot of these go. So we mix and match a lot of ingredients in the soft food, but all of those goes together in the morning. So our feeding routine is twice, once in the morning, once in the late afternoon. So late afternoon they get around 20 to 25% of the entire food intake. Sorry, late afternoon they get 20 to 25% of seeds. That's the entire uh, seed proportion of the entire food given to the grays in the entire day. So winter seed mix constitutes of more sunflower seeds, more safflower seeds, more of the oily seeds, whereas the summer seed mix is more on the lighter sides, more of millets, very less safflower, very less sunflower. In a place like India, where like most of our climate is hot and humid, or say summers, or it is above 30 degrees Celsius, there's no need to give or overload sunflower. Sunflower seed is what sunflower oil is prepared from it. It is very oily, it is very fatty. Your birds don't need that much of fats throughout the year. Only during your breeding season, during your winters, when the bird has an additional requirement, you can go extra few sunflower seeds or oily seeds or nuts. You don't have to keep giving that throughout the year. So summers, I give them summers, and actually in monsoon as well, I give them a very light seed mix. I have had grays live on millets and say 5 grains of sunflower per bird throughout a month. So every day they get soft food in the morning and evening they get just millets and very few sunflower seeds. And they are kept on such a diet throughout a month when they are flocked in open aviaries. And nothing happens to them. Trust me, you there are a lot of people who harm their birds with overcare. Sometimes overcare is also very harmful, right? You have to be a little bit cautious. For example, once winter kicks in, we start eating butter, cheese, ghee, cottage cheese, everything, right? But sorry, once winter kicks in, we start eating all the fatty foods which we have. But same thing we can't eat in our summers, which is like 45, 46 degrees. We'll go for buttermilk, we'll go for cold drinks, we'll go for something which is very light. Same routine I apply to my birds as well. So they have a separate summer and a monsoon diet, and they have a separate winter diet. So that's about I go about my entire feeding. So seeds constitute of 20 to 25%. I give them almost all the seeds possible. In winters, we increase hemp seeds, canary seeds, buckwheat, all these seeds, more of oats. All these are like boosted during the winter, sunflower, safflower. But in the same summer season, we almost cut down on 90% of these seeds. They are more on a millet based diet. Pellets, I am not a very big fan of giving pellets to your birds. See, considering our geographical location, everything is available fresh in India. You get fresh fruits, you get fresh vegetables. You don't have to go or travel far to buy these items. You'll get just nearby your home, anywhere in any store, or even on every of our crossroads, there are street vendors selling fruits and vegetables. So try to give as much fresh as possible, but there are times, for example, say when there is a spell of continuous monsoon, when staff is unable to perform, say there's a power cut, they are not able to operate my electric stoves, they're not able to steam or cook soft food. These are the times when we look out for fruit blend pellets or egg pellets. These are quite handy at times when you are unable to resource fruits, vegetables. So get your birds used to having pellets. It is very helpful at times. For example, during this Corona lockdown, initially, I was not able to reach the farm for almost 8 to 9 days. Right, a good start. Right, so get your birds to eating everything. So pellets are no harm. Right, they are good. They are like almost wholesome food. They contain all its nutrients, vitamins, calcium. They contain almost everything. But still, I'm not very fond of it. My birds do my but you get your birds to at least adapt them to get eating pellets on a regular basis. So in times of need, it's very helpful. So the next topic is enrichment in nature. If you see, African greys are very social birds. They live in colonies on canopies, on treetops. They forage on the ground with each other. They look out for what do you call? They dig through the mud. They play on canopies. They are very social birds overall. Yearly once I flock. So we want to simulate this same experience with our African greys every year, right? My African greys are bred in 5 feet by 3 by 3 feet, like 5 feet depth, 3 feet height, 3 feet width, with a nest box outside. So a grey spending an entire life inside that cage is actually a very cruel thing to do. They are social birds. They need sunlight, they need air, they need to play around, they need to what do you call socialize with each other, they need to fight with each other. So giving them this space to go about all these behaviors is actually a good practice, and it will keep your birds healthy and active. So yearly once we flock them in flight cages, give them thorough access to sunlight, rain, and elements of nature. We let them socialize, let them flex their flight muscles, let them relax. So every year, say from May end to almost August end, we flock our African grey parrots in almost say 16 to 20 feet flight cages. I'll just show you some videos. You can see the cage is almost half open to sky and half covered. So they get good sunlight, they can experience rain.